All right, let's dive right into this week's PortalFuse Weekly Security Report.
Yeah, always something.
Always something keeps us on our toes,
Yeah.
especially for those of us in the Microsoft world.
Right. Yeah, especially with these Microsoft environments that we're all shepherding along, I guess you could say.
Exactly right. And so this week, some pretty interesting stuff, I think, for our listeners out there managing these environments.
Yeah.
We want to focus in on CVE 2025-2783.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that caught my eye. And then we'll talk about KB5034957 and KB5053656 as well. So buckle up, everybody.
Sounds good. Yeah, we got some good stuff to unpack.
So this CVE 2025-2783, now this one, the title of it is a little bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
Chromium. CVE 2025-2783, incorrect handle, provided in unspecified circumstances in Mojo on Windows. What is that even talking about?
So this one lives in the Chromium open source software that, of course, underpins Microsoft Edge. And it says, in certain unspecified circumstances in Mojo, which is, if you're not familiar, that's a set of libraries for interprocess communication within Chromium. So
Right.
under certain circumstances, an incorrect handle is being provided.
Okay, so an incorrect handle. Now, when I hear handle, I think of like a file handle or something like that.
Right.
So what are we talking about here when we talk about an incorrect handle being provided?
So the concern is that this could allow an attacker to compromise the security of the browser.
Okay.
So they don't get into the specifics of exactly how this would be exploited. Just that there is this potential issue where an incorrect handle is provided, and that could lead to compromise.
Of course, any compromise at the browser level is a huge problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a significant vector for attack, and it could lead to all kinds of problems. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do we do about this? What's the remediation?
So Microsoft has addressed this in Microsoft Edge version 134.3124.93, which was released on March 26th, 2025.
So pretty recently.
Yeah. So anybody out there listening who's in charge of keeping Edge up to date, that's the version you want to make sure you're on or later.
Make sure all those Edge deployments out there are updated.
Exactly.
All right, so that's CVE 2025-2783. If people want to learn more about that, but where can they go?
So the report mentions that you can go to the Google Chrome releases page to find out more about the fixes that are in Chromium, and then there's also a Microsoft KB article that was released on March 26, 2025 as well.
Great. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. This is KB5034957, and this is this is an interesting one. This is all about updating the Windows Recovery Environment Partition to address security vulnerabilities associated with CVE 2024-26666. So what's the deal with this one?
So this is all about making sure that your WinRE partition is secured,
right?
So that even if an attacker does manage to compromise the primary operating system, they can't just boot into the recovery environment and do whatever they want from there.
So this is pretty important stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those things that maybe doesn't get as much attention as it should.
Yeah, you're so focused on keeping the OS patched,
right?
Making sure all the latest security updates are installed. But sometimes those ancillary parts of the system don't get as much attention.
Right.
They're just as important.
They are. And this one applies to looks like a pretty wide range of Windows versions.
Yeah. So this is for Windows 10, 21H2, and 22H2. Also Windows 11 21H2 and Windows Server 2022.
Wow.
So pretty much anything you're running out there, you're going to want to make sure that you take a look at this.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that the report mentions is this sample PowerShell script that Microsoft has provided.
Yeah.
This patch WinRE generic.ps1. What is this all about?
So this script is going to automate the process of updating the Win1 image. So, it's going to handle all the fiddly bits of mounting the image and applying the updates and unmounting the image and all that good stuff.
So rather than having to do this manually,
exactly,
which I'm sure would be a nightmare, this script can automate the whole thing.
Yep, much easier.
And what are the requirements for running this?
So you're going to want to run this from an elevated PowerShell session. So you need admin rights to do this.
Okay.
And it can be run on any of those supported Windows versions that we mentioned earlier.
It's a pretty versatile script.
It is, yeah.
Now walk us through a little bit about what this script actually does when it's run.
So it's going to mount the existing WinRE image, which is usually called winre.wim.
Okay.
And then it's going to update that image with a Safe OS dynamic update package that you've downloaded from the Microsoft Update Catalog.
Okay. So we got to get that package separately.
Yeah, you got to download that first, and it needs to be the latest one for the version of Windows that you're running. And then once it's updated the image, then it'll unmount the image.
Okay.
And one thing that's really important about this script is that if you are using BitLocker with TPM Protector, this script will handle reconfiguring WinRE to work with BitLocker.
That's great. So we don't have to worry about breaking BitLocker when we update the WinRE partition.
Exactly. It takes care of all that for you.
Which is a huge time saver. I mean, that sounds like a real headache if we had to do that manually.
Wait, absolutely.
Now, are there any parameters that we can use with this script?
So there are a couple of parameters. There's one called logdir, which lets you specify a directory where the script can write log files.
Okay.
If you don't specify this, it'll just use the default temporary directory.
Right.
And then the more important parameter is called dave package path, and this is where you specify the path to that Safe OS dynamic update package that you downloaded.
Right.
And that can be a local path or it can be a UNC path if the package is on a network share.
Okay, great. So really handy script there. Again, I think this is one of those things that sometimes gets overlooked, but it's great that Microsoft has provided this to make our lives a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's move on to the last item here, KB5053656, and this is a non-security preview update.
Yeah.
For Windows 11 version 24H2. So this one has a build number of 26100.3624, and it was released on March 27th, 2025. So this is hot off the presses. What's the purpose of these preview updates?
So these are really for testing out new features and getting a sneak peek at what's coming down the pipeline.
Okay.
So they're not security updates, but they do include new functionality and bug fixes and things like that.
All right. And this was being rolled out gradually, is that right?
Right. So it's not going to be available to everybody all at once.
Okay.
Microsoft is going to kind of slowly roll it out to different groups of users just to make sure that there aren't any major problems before they release it to everybody.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So let's talk about some of the key improvements and new features that are in this release. One that jumped out at me was the improvements to Windows search. And this is especially for those Copilot Plus PCs. So what's going on with that?
So on these PCs, they're using some new semantic indexing models.
Okay.
Along with the traditional lexical indexing.
Right.
So this is going to allow you to do more natural language searches.
Oh, interesting. So we can actually talk to our computers now.
Well, kinda.
Kinda.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there.
So you can search for things in a more conversational way.
Okay.
And it should be able to understand what you're looking for, even if you don't use the exact keywords.
That's great.
And this works in File Explorer and in the taskbar search and in the Settings app.
Wow. So system-wide.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And another really cool thing about this is that it works even when you're offline.
What? Even offline. So how does that work?
Yeah, so it uses the neural processing unit on these Copilot Plus PCs to do the semantic analysis.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
You don't need to be connected to the internet to take advantage of that.
All right, well, that's pretty impressive. There's also a new gamepad keyboard layout for the touch keyboard. What's that all about?
So this is a new layout that's specifically designed for people who are using a gamepad to control their computer.
Okay.
So it's got these bigger buttons for things like backspace and spacebar, and the keys are arranged vertically.
Okay.
Which is supposed to make it easier to navigate with the controller.
All right, so that's interesting. I haven't actually used a gamepad to control a computer, but I imagine there are people out there who do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And there's also this new system tray icon for emojis and other panels.
Yeah, so this is going to make it easier to access the emoji panel.
Okay.
And there are also some other panels that you can access from this icon.
Right.
But they're not saying exactly what those are yet.
A little bit mysterious.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Exactly.
Now, there's also a long list of important fixes in this release. Do you want to run through some of those?
Sure. So this release fixes a bunch of problems with ctfmon.exe,
okay,
which is the process that handles text input.
Right.
There are also some fixes for application installation issues.
Okay.
Specifically with the Mensaclose Handle API. And then some fixes for authentication problems.
All right.
Involving both Kerberos and Fido.
Okay.
And then a fix for a problem that could cause an extra boot menu entry to appear.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. It is.
Glad they fixed that.
And then there are a bunch of other fixes for, various things like color profiles
Right.
and file explorer and general system stability.
Okay.
And network problems and screen orientation problems and problems with search on the taskbar.
Wow.
And problems with how Japanese names are displayed in the settings app.
A lot of fixes.
Yeah, it's a pretty long list.
It is. So they've been busy.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there are also some updated AI components in this release.
Right. So the components that handle image search and content extraction and semantic analysis, those have all been updated to version 1.7.818.0.
All right.
And it's important to note that in order to install these updated AI components, you need to have at least KB5034957 installed, which is build 26100.2447 or later of the servicing stack update.
So make sure you got that first.
Yeah, gotta have that foundation.
Absolutely. Now, are there any known issues with this release?
So there are a couple of known issues. The first one is that people who are trying to play Roblox on an ARM device, they might have trouble downloading or playing the game from the Microsoft Store.
What's the workaround for that?
So the workaround is to download the game directly from the Roblox website.
Oh, okay. So bypass the Microsoft Store.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's also a problem with Citrix.
Yeah. So if you're using Citrix SRA version 2411, you might run into a problem when you try to install the January 2025 Windows Security Update.
Okay. It might fail to install and roll back.
Not good.
No.
So what do we do about that?
So Citrix has documented a workaround for this.
Okay.
So you can go to their website and find out what that is.
All right. So make sure you check that out if you're using Citrix.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So that's KB5053656.
Yep.
Lots of interesting stuff in there.
Yeah.
How can people get this update if they want to try it out?
So it's available as an optional update through Windows Update.
Okay.
If you're using Windows Update for Business, it'll be included in the next monthly security update.
All right.
And you can also download it manually from the Microsoft Update catalog.
Got it.
And this update does include the latest servicing stack update as well.
Okay. Good to know. So a lot to digest here this week. We covered a browser vulnerability. We talked about updating the Windows recovery environment. And we got a sneak peek at some of the new features that are coming in Windows 11.
A lot of great information in the PortalFuse Weekly Security Report this week. So thanks for breaking it all down for us.
Glad to do it.
All right. And for all of you listening out there, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Take care.